Hey y'all, welcome back to my series about grieving as a Christian. If you're new here, my name is Molly, and I started this channel after my daughter died when I realized I could not find the support that I needed as a grieving person, and I knew that there were others out there like me who needed this support too. So my goal is to help you feel less crazy and less alone, and to help others who love us to better support us in our grief. So talking about topics around Christianity and grief are really important to me, especially because as Christians, we can have misunderstandings about what it means to have faith and other things that we believed before our loved one died that now we're questioning everything. And it's made even harder by other Christians who try to support us with saying things that are not helpful and actually can be downright cruel. So what I want to talk about today is an Old Testament account where David, who was a king of Israel, his child died. You can read more of this account in 2 Samuel chapter 12, but I'm going to paraphrase the story and get to my point. So you can go back and read the account of David and study it further on your own after this. So in the Old Testament, the Israelites wanted a king like all of the other nations around them. And during this specific time, David had been chosen to be king. David was a man after God's own heart. But David was human, like we all are, and he made bad choices and he sinned, like we as adults do. The short version of the story is he saw a woman, her name was Bathsheba, and he desired her, and because he was the king, he could have whatever he wanted. So he got her pregnant, and then realizing what he had done, he had her husband sent to the front line of the battle to be killed. And then he married her. So he made a lot of bad choices. There was a lot of mistakes that he made. And he was sorry for his mistakes. He was sorry for his choices. He was sorry for his sin. The point that I want to make about this story is God revealed to him that this baby was going to die. Again, this was a time when the law was physical and punishments were physical. So we need to be very careful when we look at this account in the Bible of a man who sinned and his baby died because of his sin. That is not how God operates today. When my daughter died, our very dear friend spoke at her funeral, and he used the example of David mourning the loss of his baby. So again, if you read in the account of 2 Samuel chapter 12, you see where he is fasting and he is praying. He is begging God not to let his baby die. After he finds out that the baby is dead, he gets up and he washes his face and he eats and he moves on. And everyone's confused. And he says to them, I'm paraphrasing here, while my baby was alive, there was hope that God would answer my prayers. But now my baby's dead. So now I have the hope of seeing my baby in heaven, but for now I have to move on. So like I said, we do not live under the Old Testament law. Therefore, our sin does not directly cause the death of our children. And we can see in verses like Deuteronomy 24 and 16, and also in Galatians chapter 6, verses 7 and 8, where God says that we are accountable to our own sin, that our children are not accountable for our sin. Again, this is something that can be taken out of context, can be twisted to mean something that it doesn't mean. And another thing that I want to mention is just because David got up and washed his face and moved on, and just because he and Bathsheba were allowed to stay married and have more children, does not mean that we're supposed to just wash our face and move on. And it doesn't mean that they never mourned that child anymore. And it doesn't mean that our faith is supposed to keep us from being sad. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? If you have any thoughts about this account from the Bible and how it applies to grief, or any experiences that you would like to share, please put them in the comments so that we can support each other and work on our healing together and help others who love us do a better job of supporting us. Check out other videos in this series in the cards and also in the description of the video. And let me know if this is helpful for you. what you want me to talk about in the future, especially if you're struggling as a grieving Christian, and understand how we can have faith and still be sad. And that by continuing to grieve, we're not denying our faith, and we are just trying to work on healing and grieving in a healthier way while we're still living on this earth without our loved one. Until next time, bye y'all.